NAI was one of the largest in the world. I think it was number 4 at one height. So I'd love for you to share kind of your background, your career, what you've seen, what you're seeing now, and why RealNex, and how is this put together to solve a lot of problems, especially now.
I appreciate that, Jim. It's great to be here. Great to see so many friends on the screen. Thank you, Keith and company, for being long-term friends and fans. We have a great history with EXP. Is fortunate to meet Jim and join with him as he was building the organization. But just briefly, my background was building, growing, and then running NAI Global. We took it into 55 countries around the world, branded these several hundred brokerage offices under the NAI umbrella, and built a really tremendous global organization to drive business, to help agents win business, and to enable them to fulfill and service not just local clients, but global clients across the platform. And it's interesting along that journey, I always heard this story, and we still hear it, that commercial real estate agents aren't the leaders in investing in or developing or using technology to grow their business. But we invested heavily in it during my journey in the expansion of NAI, and built a platform to connect and enable our agents. And what I found through that was that if you build technology that helps agents win business and execute more efficiently, they're happy to adopt. When it looks like work or management infrastructure, then they're not so happy to adopt. But the technology that we built then helped us secure and manage global portfolios like PepsiCo and Hertz and International Paper and Colgate Palmolive, and we worked for United States Postal Service and BP Amoco, and just ran hundreds and hundreds of transactions very efficiently across the global organization. And what we found was that when you can show to your clients that you can drive and develop a process and run a process for them that is more efficient, more effective, and repeatable, that there's a surety of execution and performance, and that they can see the work that you're doing and have reporting and management against that they realize the value of the work that you're doing, and they're more likely to engage you. So when I sold NAI about 12 years ago now, I left and joined forces with Mark Kingston, who was the CEO at Argus Software. He had sold and left Argus about the same time, and we came together with a vision to do what I did and what he was doing, but what we did with NAI, but do it for the entire industry. So we put together what was a fragmented landscape for commercial real estate technology into one end-to-end solution. And Matt, if you could bring up the screen. I have with me today Matthew Smith, who's head of business development and been with us from the beginning of the journey. We started just over 10 years ago. We are in our 10th anniversary year now, but we saw the industry as highly fragmented. And there were hundreds of point solutions that solved parts of the problem and provided part of the solution that was needed, but actually created burdens because there were silos of information. There was data that was here that needed to be here and here and here, and there was no connectivity, and that you needed to pay for this and this and this, and it became very expensive. And it was actually more time consuming than efficient. So what we did was to acquire a number of companies and bring them all together. And so since 2014, when we made our initial round of acquisitions, we rebuilt all of these platforms into one end-to-end solution called RealNex Navigator, which starts and it's built on top of the world's really the pioneer in real estate, commercial real estate CRMs, REA. Some of you may have used REA in the past, but started in the 80s and has sold over 100,000 licenses around the world. And we rebuilt that, brought it to the cloud. It becomes the primary database for our system and helps to track and manage all of the property information, the client information, the deal information, and runs the project from end to end, and has now integrated email marketing. And that data then can seamlessly flow into our Market Edge solution, which is for underwriting, investment analysis, comparative lease analysis, as well as the full collateral stack. So flyers, brochures, offering memos, proposals, and OMs, and private and secure deal rooms, property websites, everything that you need from a marketing and presentation standpoint. And then we added in a transaction manager, so you can collaborate with your clients, a tour book app. You can give them the app and allow them to join in with you as you're showing spaces or touring properties for acquisition, and also have a reporting engine to your landlords. And finally, our marketplace to publish and promote listings into the market, and to run email marketing campaigns and syndicate to third parties, and really build this now all into one complete solution. And more recently, we added what we call RX data, which is a foundational layer of information from the assessor's offices across the country, with proper land and property information, ownership information, comparable sales information, and loan profiles. So it can really become predictive as far as who's buying, who's selling, when do they buy, what's their typical hold period, when are loans coming due, and begin to mine that data to know who's the most likely seller today and who's the most likely buyer tomorrow. So you can bring that all together and drive more efficiency in your transaction and deal management. We also have a service that we provide, RealNex VR, which is an incredible tool for visualization, whether it's virtual reality to look at spaces that don't exist, buildings that don't exist, things that need to be reimagined, and help in the planning and approval process, the capital raising process, as well as the pre-leasing and pre-sale. And more recently added on top of the virtual reality video capabilities, whether it's from a satellite or drone sort of big picture to look at a region, putting in data overlays to showcase regions of growth and opportunity, transit routes, and activity hubs, and where and why people might want to move or be in certain places, and then to move into that virtual reality space. It takes from that 30,000 foot view down to the 30,000 square foot space that might be in that building, to be able to tour around, look at, envision it as your workplace or environment or place to live. So a real end-to-end solution from everything that you need to help you find business, win business, and execute more efficiently. And with that sort of overview, unless Jim, you wanted me to share any more, I'm going to turn it over to Matt. But maybe one other piece of the puzzle is that we are in an interesting time in the market cycle today. And it's a really exciting spot in the cycle, and one that I think the EXP team can really thrive in that we've been through an 18-month, 24-month of doldrums, of challenges where there's no there's a lack of transparency, a lack of liquidity, and some bid-ask gap that's significant. And we're just had the gun go off, it seems, with this interest rate drop that is opening up the market for a great playground for agents. So the agents that win in this environment are market experts. And you can't become a market expert, a market authority, without a database and a system to own and control your market. Many of you may have read some of the tweets and posts from Bob Knackle. Bob's a great client of ours and an old friend. He uses our CRM and system. And he said, if you don't know, think about this, and how many of you can answer yes to this? How many properties are in your market that you are going to serve and you are going to represent? Then you could never be a market authority. And talk to another one of our clients. He says, I have 1,082 properties in my database. That's what I can get my head around. That's what I can own. That's enough properties that I can become a market authority on, and I can become expert in, and I can do enough business in to make the money that I need. And I know if that market trades 20% or 15% or 5%, I can get my share of that to make enough money to win. And I can become, it's big enough to know that it can make give me enough revenue, but it's also not too large that I can't become an expert in it. So I need to know everything I can about those properties, everything I can about the owners of those properties, about the history of those properties, so that I know more about those properties than the owners do, and that I can add value to those owners, those buyers and sellers, that that will always add value, and I can demonstrate my value. So the RealNex platform is really designed to help you become that market authority, to own your market, control your market, and in an environment, whether it's a boom market or it's a down market, those are the agents that always have business. They're always busy. They're the ones that solve the problems and solve the challenges for the owners that have problems or the tenants that have problems, because they know that and I see Keith chiming in about a dentist. So yeah, one of the analogies I often use is, you're not going to go to a generalist when you need brain surgery. You're going to go to the expert on multifamily in Tampa when you have a problem. I don't want a generalist to sell my $3 million asset or my $10 million asset. I want the guy or the agent who's the most experienced and the best at it and has demonstrated that expertise. And so we want to talk to you today about is building that market authority, building your brand, building your position in the market, and using technology to enable you to become the most successful broker that you can be.
Jeff, before Matt starts, thank you for sharing all of this, because I did use pieces, right, going way back of REA and then REI Weiss and other programs that you brought all together. And I think the elephant in the room that we're always discussing is AI, automation, linking it all together from start to finish. I know that was your dream with Mark Kingston of just putting it all together. So if you, before Matt kind of shows the nuts and bolts, can you kind of give us a glimpse of what you're working on this AI integration of everything and how it's going to simplify brokers' lives, right? To really go out there and do the business they have to, rather than always trying to get technology under control, but having technology work for you as long as you do your work.
So I think AI is used in a lot of different ways, and I don't know if AI is really the right word or terminology, because it's not artificial. It is intelligence. It's processing. It's how do you make data flow as efficiently as possible? And because you're using technology to do it, we're calling that artificial. Well, that's just using a tool to be able to read faster than you can read, to be able to access more data than you can access, and to leverage what you would do, but use the help of a computer to do it. So if you would think about, in the past, you had a piece of paper, I needed to extract the lease and I need to take certain bits of information and put that into a system. Well, now you can automate that. You can read the PDF, get the data in. So instead of thinking about, and sometimes building a CRM is intimidating because you have to put data in. That means data entry. Well, that doesn't necessarily, the AI doesn't mean data entry. It means that we can extract, and that's part of what RX data does. It extracts data, pulls it together, and seeds your system with that information. When you begin to think about AI in this context, if I know that over the past 5 years, Wong and Company has purchased 10,000 units in Southern California, and he has a gas station and maybe a piece of land, that he probably doesn't want the gas station, the piece of land. He's focused on buying multifamily. That's all he's been doing recently. So to be able to look at, analyze, and profile people and businesses of what they're doing versus what they might have done to make you smarter about, how do I approach Jim and say, Jim, I see that you have this portfolio, this might not match. It looks like you're reshaping it to do that. How can we help you dispose of the other stuff and get more of what you want? It looks at what's Jim done over time to say that he's made purchases in 2014 and sold them in 2018. He's now making purchases in 2019. So guess what? He's likely to sell them in 2024, 2025. His typical hold profile is this versus somebody else who it looks like Prudential, that's 10 years, 20, whatever, their hold period is. So profiling people, bringing first, extracting and bringing in information, looking at a repeatable process and just seamlessly bringing information in so it can be used, accessing it. It could be modeling and profiling potential buyers and sellers. It could be, think about this, one of the things that we're working on is this call or other calls that you're on have, there's probably 10 of them on the call right now, Phantom or other AI capture that's giving you a summary of the report. Well, rather than just have a closet full of call summaries, what if all that information was in your RealNex? So it profiled me and said, Jeff talked about this crazy stuff about being a market expert or all this other stuff. But the next time you talk to me, so you say, Jeff, how's that stuff at RealNex working out. And oh, remember when we were on that call? So you're not going back to your note taker, but it's all in your profile of your prospect. So, and it knows that when we talked about having a tour next week, all of a sudden your calendar is populated with a tour next week. And so it's taking information that's sort of just out there in the ether and sometimes gets lost and putting it into a system for processing and information. There's a lot more, Jim, but I think the subject is huge. We're early innings of it. We've been sort of taking things that were database mining and now just enabling it, empowering it more and more. And we'll continue to take feedback from our clients on what they want. We actually just did a big survey of all of our clients that wanted to participate in of what they want from an AI standpoint. What are the types of things and tools that they would want to have us work on? And we're now building out that first wave, and it's just early innings of that process.
Thank you, Jeff.
Matt, why don't we take a quick deep dive? I wanted to be able to share a little bit more. So hopefully we have like 10 or 15 minutes. Jim, we can share what's.
Yeah, we'll go through this first and then we'll have questions afterwards.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, go ahead, Matt.
How do I even follow up with that? Absolutely amazing. And I've known Jim 15 years, 16 years. I'm in Jim's other offices with him with REA. I work closely with REI Wise as part of the programs we had. We put together a session back with Jim and his other partners and so forth, walking through how to utilize those solutions together with REI Wise and REA. And look at us today, 15 plus years, and now they're integrated to create faster, more compelling, authoritative broker opinion of values, as well as, showing people what the market is and where the market is and so forth, and being able to own your market and know your market. And I think AI is going to help you get more availability to be in front of those properties and know more attributes about those properties. Unlike your competitors, they get to see the transaction velocity, they get to see the trades, and they get to be able to have that information, and it's going to be at your fingertips. Instead of having to go back in and remember everything that was on this meeting, it's going to give you back that information. So as we run through a program, I like to kind of reference things with colors. We're broken up into 4 main categories. Green is going to be your listing management. It's the way that you get your listings out to the market, whether that's to our list, which we have a list of opt-in investors, tenants, agents, and vendors across the country, whether that's to your own website or to a global website. We also have an email marketing system that's built in. So you don't need things like Chipmonkey and so forth to utilize. It's all built right into our program with statistics at your fingertips. So you can see who's opening, who's not opening, or maybe you're emailing Don Ebert and you find out that Don's email address is bad and you didn't realize that because you've been using Gmail and so forth. So our system will give those statistics back for you. In orange, it's going to be your class leading CRM. And I really don't like that word. Unfortunately, everybody understands what it is, but it's more of a asset management system. It's a way to know the market, see what the market is, match buyers and sellers, tenants and space, and then be able to back that up with information, whether that's lease comps or sales comps, how you came up with the valuation, how you came up with the TIs at this, percentage, or, how you're able to, value the square footage of this lease a little bit different than your competitors because you have that data. And again, using the RX data, we're able to power that with that. We also created tools that you can bring it in rapidly from third parties. We don't want you to be forced into one data solution. We just want to provide you with many data solutions and make that for you at your fingertips. In red, you'll see our presentation and property analysis. And I think this is extremely important to overlook. And if I said how many people on here had a inaccurate broker opinion of value sent over to one of their clients in the last 6 months, I think everybody would raise 2, 3, 4 hands. It's amazing how many people are trying to buy listings at this point. I just saw one yesterday posted on X that it's an extremely overvalued deal. And I'm an LP in it. Should I reach out to the broker? What should I do? And so I gave him a little bit of advice on how to handle an inaccurate valuation and how to use our tools to do that. And not only does it create something that, that you'll be able to see, it's going to be able to create it in a way that your clients can understand. Similarly, with our comparison for leases, owner and tenant rep, it's great to have a rent schedule and so forth, virtual deal room. And then one of the tools that we really enjoy is our deal room and tour book. And I can kind of dive into those depending on how we have time within there. But the idea is to be able to create a digital environment that can be updated instantaneously with the ability to create a PDF or a paper handout if client needs and they're not, enabling the technology. But my mom is 82 years old and she text messages now. So I don't think there's anybody that's not willing to take on a mobile app and look at it and saying, no, I don't want it more convenient. So we just try to make it more convenient for them. We can also have it so you can hand out iPads on a tour, right? Everything, put your EXP logo in the background, have our tour book on there, and then hand the iPads out instead of handing out piece of papers and flyers that go in the backseat of someone's stuff. But the idea, again, is it's all in our solution. Now, sometimes when you're talking about this gets really, really overwhelming. You're like, well, where do I start? What do I do? We have a lot of tools to help you with that. We created a tool called Guide Me. Guide Me gives you on-demand infrastructure. So it allows you to go in and click in, and you can look at new feature content as we add new information. You can go and look at how to set up your account or reset up your account. You can also customize your experience with our program, whether that's customized layouts for buyer requirements or tenant requirements, creating industrial layouts or office, or if you're specializing in land, to eliminate the fields you don't need. And all this allows you with an on-demand screen. A lot of our clients, including myself, have a hard time watching the video and then going back in and what did the video say and how to do it. So we use tools like AI to then condense that information, and then we have to then read. Well, I might not go back in and read it. This takes away all of it, where it puts an on-screen guide, whether you're going in and open up a property record to customize the layout, or you're creating an evaluation based upon the data within inside your system. We have an on-screen guide that can walk you through each and every step of this program. So everybody on this call, including April, who's going to lay down the law on this, she can go simply hit analyze market for a presentation. When you do, it'll walk you through our program without ever using it. If you can A, read, if B, you can use a keyboard and a mouse, you can utilize the RealNex program right out of the box, which is fantastic. We also have a series of videos that walk you through if you're a video person. And then we do have some text. If you love to read, you can access that. We make it bulletproof with a simple integration with Outlook or Gmail. This allows you to get into our program rapidly. You can synchronize your contacts, your events, more importantly, your emails. If you've ever been to arbitration before, there's nothing like bringing your RealNex, giving it to that attorney and them saying, this is time, date, and stamp along with the attachment. And it's all within inside of our program to access you. You can eliminate things like, what do I need to do today? One of the things that I hear from a lot of my clients who I train across the globe is time management. And how do we effectively do that? And how do we do that with all this technology? And they get in there like they're chasing lasers like a mouse. And really, instead of spending 30 to 45 minutes each night preparing, let the system prepare for you. So your day is planned 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 days out, utilizing the RealNex solution with the integration of Outlook and Gmail. We have timelines that can automate follow-up activities and tasks. These then can turn into a beautiful Gantt chart that can show all your activities, whether it's somebody on your team, creating marketing collateral, reviewing marketing trends, analyzing marketing, bringing in data, verifying data, or anything else. These can turn into beautiful Gantt charts, which then turn into a client activity report. So everything you told your client you're going to do, you're going to follow up with everything you said you're going to do, and you're going to back it up, right? And these are the things that clients are going to expect, especially as transaction velocity increases. People start to stop doing these things. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, Jose, is he creating a marketing activity report and giving that to you? No, he didn't say that. Well, I will back up everything I say. And our program, as you take these tasks and events, as you complete those, they turn into a report automatically for you. So if you just follow a couple steps, the program can really, really, really work for you with inside of it. We added simple things within our program to get started, whether that's the Outlook synchronization, the Guide Me, the onboarding, the training videos, the webinars that Jeff and I do every week. And then we're backing that up with a training series that Brandon does to break down what Jeff and I do rapidly into small segments so you can digest it in a slower environment. We've even added Kanban cards so you can track your pipeline and manage your deals, or track all your listing pursuits and pitches and see where they're at in each phase. Because every time you pitch a listing, we don't win it. But every time a listing's listed doesn't mean it's going to sell. And that's awesome. And just because you lost the listing today doesn't mean you won't get it tomorrow. I was in a building that is listed by a broker, and it's still listed, and the space is still for lease, and it's probably going to be there for a while. That's a great opportunity for you as a broker, Keith Andrews, to go back in and say, hey, look, this space has been vacant for a year and a half. Here's how much money you lost. And then to be able to back that up with an authoritative valuation model that you can show the client right on your iPad on their, office building. And I can pull up one of my buildings in here and say, look, here is your building that you have, 123 Anywhere. And by the way, here's how much money you've lost by it being vacant for that unit. And here's how your valuation has changed. And if we just lease that space, we can increase your valuation by X, Y, and Z. Hire me to do the business. I'm telling you, you're going to be laying down the law. That's the way you got to do it. And that's how our program can help you with the visualizations and the supporting documentation, the beautiful presentations within here. Whether you want to do presentations that are landscape, portrait, you want to draw on the page, you want to have different cover pages within inside of here. We're getting new updated EXP pages, whether that's portrait or landscape. You can move them around any way you want. You can draw on the page. We give you business mapping to show locations. Maybe it's senior housing. You want to show hospitals, or you want to show RealNex location, Anchor Escrow and Edward Jones. So a new tenant may want to move into that building. Maybe you want to show all the hospitals that are around, or maybe it's school districts. Maybe something's not even on there. You can simply select whether it's restaurants, police stations, or anything that you want to show on here. You can select that information and hit search, and then allow that information to populate right into your system. We provide all the charts and analysis for you. So if you're not an expert in underwriting, how do you overcome interest rates? Well, let's talk about, maybe it's going to be a 5-year IO, 3-year IO. Well, interest rates aren't 3.6. I just saw one at 4.95% recently, so that's pretty decent. That's pretty awesome. Maybe we want to show a takeout loan at year 2, 3, 4, 5 at a lower interest rate and show what those projections are. Our system's going to accommodate all those things for you. Now, the data from the CRM will feed this, including our custom pages. Now, you might come in here and Nelson says, Matt, I really don't like your pages. I want to have something completely custom. Well, Nelson, let's do it. We have the ability to customize a page just like this, that you can drag and drop the widgets to create the page. And then it feeds from data directly from the system that you can line out. So if you specialize in land, you specialize in sale leasebacks, whatever that would be, the data that's in your CRM could be created to create these pages for you that fill from the information you have. So time is of the essence. And when you're able to do this and create something like this in 15 minutes and your competitor takes 15 days because they got 19 marketing people in there, I'm telling you, there's nobody in the world that's going to be able to do that quicker, faster, and easier. And don't be shy. Pull this up when you're pitching a listing. Pull this up in front of your client. Show them all the tenants that meet the requirements. Show them all the buyers that meet the requirements. Pull it up on your iPhone and drop the mic and say, here's what I got going on. Jose's out walking buildings, and he pulls out his yellow pad and he says, hey, here's all my things. And he takes his eye. Don't do that. Use it all on your phone. That's all efficiencies. It's all about having a process and making things more efficient. And then when you want to take it to market, simply create a deal room based upon the data that you have in there. Load your different templates, whether it's, a sale leaseback, broker opinion of value, or any one of our number of templates, you can easily load those. Customize your own. And when you're ready to go to market, take that same information out to list that property for sale or for lease. Make it searchable so it's on your website, syndicate it out to third-party sources if you choose, and then create an email marketing campaign within seconds that go out to your pre-vetted investors or tenants that are in the area. And now we can send that out to those clients in the market. Share it on social media if you choose. Just don't share it to me. Make sure if you share it, put something jazzy, 100% occupied, 18 cap. Something that gets my attention. Now, all this information can create an email branded for EXP commercial. Put that to your agricultural farmers because you just have a new nut farm that just came on the market. Or if you have no business, send it to our CBSA, MSA, or national if it's a national opportunity. All these tools are available to you. You can access our digital tour books. Recently, one of our competing programs started charging everybody for access to this. So if you manage a building, whether it's 50,000 square feet or 5 million square feet, you can give your clients free access to see all the deal activity in their transaction manager. You can brand it with your own company logo that's on there, so it's branded. You can change the colors on it. You can create tours that are digital right inside of our program to see what's going on with each one of the deals. Here's a live deal that I was brought into. They were able to rate the spaces a short list quicker. There's a 5.4, 5.8, 7.5, 7.4. These were all done by rating the spaces on each one based upon the attributes that are important to your client. Obviously, they didn't like rent. Now, this is not a demo. This is live right in here. So someone didn't like the rent, and it's not a secure building. So, but it still got a really high score. So that can show you right now that you need to find a little bit higher security, and you need something with probably a little bit lower rent. And I think you're going to find the perfect building for your client. So again, we're trying to take that transaction cycle and shorten it and shorten it and shorten. And the quicker we can do that, the better it is. Now, some of you might say, I don't have any listings, leases, or anything like that. With our program, we can visualize all this data that's in there for you. We can take the information, and content is king. We can take this now, we can show you what that solution is going to look like, whether it's, you know, utilizing our aerial tours or utilizing VR, AR, or any other innovations that we have for technology. We can overlay the different information that's on there. And I'll give you a quick example. Let's look at an aerial tour. Imagine you want to showcase a space or a building for sale or for lease, or maybe you want to showcase all the properties that you've sold or leased because you want the video to do the talking and walking for you. We can do that. Maybe you're part of a team and you're new. Well, why don't you highlight all the transaction history that's happened with your team in the area over the last 6 months, 12 months, 12 years, whatever that would be. We can show in here every deal that you've worked with, every client. Jeff mentioned a bunch of names, whether it's BP or Conoco or whoever Jeff mentioned in there. Well, yeah, that's great, but it went in one year, went out the other year. It's like talking to my 7-year-old. She doesn't understand it, but I promise you, if I put her in video format like this, she'll be like, oh, BP, I know who that is. Those are the gas people. And she would know and be able to talk factually upon that. Let the video do the talking and walking for you, and people remember it. They can go back in and they can look at it later, because a lot of times we just hear this and you can just stop talking like I will now, and I'll let the videos do the talking for me. Obviously, it's faster on your screen than it is on mine. We're doing Zoom, YouTube, and it's transmitting to every data device in the world. But those are some of the things that we can do here for you at RealNex to help visualize things, whether it's your profile, a sizzle reel on a building, augmented reality to show live and virtual reality, 360 video, digital staging. We can help you out with all of it. One place, one price, one login to access the solutions. Now, the VR is an additional cost per project, but don't be shy. Send us your projects. Let us know what you have, what you're doing, where you're doing things. If you have a medical office, or you want to change something in an area, you want to revitalize an area because there's tax credits or something, we can revitalize the complete area and show what it would look like. You can get planning approvals and take this to your local governance and, you know, have conversations around it. You can pre-sell, pre-lease, and we can create simple websites like this that can really show everything, including site plans, video tours, 360 renderings. Contact us, including deposits for student housing, so you can pre-lease them, you know, a year or two in advance before the units are even completed. I'm not sure how much time we have, but hopefully that was able to give a quick, broad overview of everybody. I know that we were scheduled to 8:30 and it's 8:35. I'm not sure if we want to open up the questions or we want to roll more into the program. I'm happy to go anyway.
Matt, let's open up to questions. I think Keith, and then we could kind of see what the audience is looking for right now. So Keith, what do you got? Or what does your guest have as a question?
I think we forgot what our question was, because that was a whole bunch of stuff right there. And I think we forgot what we were going to ask.
Well, that's the one thing with technology and kind of learning this and relearning it. That's why I thought it was very important. We just use like our phone just a little bit. And as the technology keeps adding and advancing and just, you know, growing, it gets more complicated. And I know, Matt, unless you're the one kind of in it all the time explaining it, many of us, we only use the CRM, the OM, and that's it, you know? So maybe, if you don't mind, maybe it will spur on some of the tricks and tips that you've heard, you know, talking to so many people in the industry, especially currently, that's been helping them, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it is definitely a good tip. There's no trick. If you treat your business like a business, you can then apply any of that business to our program. I've said it for 15 years. Simply write down what you do in a day and how you do those items. And then you can start taking each one of those and applying it to parts in our solution. If you're not sure what our solution can do, that's great. Email me over and say, look, I'm Keith Andrews. Here's what I do. I'm a CCIM. I'm in XYZ state, and we specialize in A, B, and C. When we go out, walk buildings, we do this. When we tour buildings, we do this. When we get a listing, we do this. Great, give that to me. And then I will take that and I will pop in little pieces where you can use our program. If you're using 10%, but you're being 90% more efficient, that's not a bad thing. So don't feel bad that you're not using 100%. I'm probably using 20% of my car. That doesn't mean that it's not the right car for me. It just means that if I need it for anything else, I can. And when I throw it in four-wheel drive and turn the AC seats on, I'm loving life. But without that functionality, I'm not. And similarly, if you're focusing on sales right now and you're not doing a lot of leasing, that doesn't mean that you won't or your team won't. And so the program is always able to be evolved. Your process can be evolved, and you can expand within the program if you need it. And you don't have to move from system to system to system to system because you've outgrown it. And with the layouts that are in our program, if you get scared with 97,000 fields, no problem. Just go in there and remove them all. Make it 2 fields. You can make this as digestible as you want for you. I have a client that does industrial in San Diego, and he wants to see 47 fields. I have an industrial client in San Diego that wants to see 3 fields. I have their marketing person that wants to see 300 fields. No problem. Inside of the program, you can customize each one of these layouts, whether it's, you know, a lender profile with 2 fields, or, you know, someone with all the fields that are in there, or I can have my client profile, but your whole team can be in there. So if you're a multifamily expert and you want it for all multifamily, make it for multifamily, but your teammates in industrial, make it for industrial. The program is completely bespoke, which is a new word I just started saying recently, is customizable to you and how you do things. And it's so easy to do that I can take anybody in this call, including Eric Clark, who is, I'm sure, super smart, but you can come in here and click manage, and you can say edit. And if you can drag your mouse and move it, then you can customize your own layout. And I'll help you with it. And just simple things like that is great. Start out with 2 fields. What do they buy and where do they buy? Great. That's it. And then expand if you want, or not. Doesn't matter to me. But yeah, back to the question you asked, how do you get started without getting overwhelmed? Write it down. The way I've learned how to use REA and the way I learned how to sell REA is I broke down what a tenant rep does for office. And I needed to know properties and spaces they occupy and companies. And that's it. And I wrote down, what do I do to meet the companies? What do I do to walk the spaces? And I learned how to apply that to RealNex or to REA. That's it. And then as we expanded into the other programs, it was a natural fit to be able to say, oh, great. Instead of doing evaluation in Excel and then pasting it into PowerPoint and then put it into Canva and then doing this, I just hit one button and it's done. This is great. And my clients can understand it. Because I'll tell you this, Keith Andrews, your clients can't understand an Excel spreadsheet with 28 tabs. Their head's going to go, what's this? And so with our program, it says, here's your cap rate. They might not know what cap rate is, but they sure love that cap rate number. And it just says, here's your cap rate. Cool.
So Matt, you know, with all the changes in the market about the CRM and database, do you help, as you're talking about scrubbing and helping people build, let's say, I always say starting at Marcus using REA back then, or even ACT, right? The precursor, and then REA, to get about 1,000 to 2,000 names in our database, you know, depending on property type and velocity. Do you help that? And also, as you build your team, you want to give access to new brokers, but also adding control so people can get their teammates to start working collaboratively on a centralized database to work, but especially with new agents try to build their new database. Let's say some of these agents on the residential or resi-commercial or even commercial trying to expand. So how do you have that to kind of work together? And we know that's the power in commercial real estate, kind of working with each other.
Yeah, and it's a great question. So James is actually one of our coworkers, but you can see here I took away all his permissions. And the reason I did is because he took my demo database and kept on adding all kinds of interesting things that I didn't want in there. So I took away all his permissions. So you can add permissions, you can take away permissions, and you can create what we call teams. So if you want a bunch of different teams, you can manage a team, whether it's one person or 1,000 people in one database, where they only see the segmented data that they need to see at that time, including the ability to share comparables. And I can't tell you this enough. Jeff and I talked about this ad nauseum over the last 10 years, that it's so important to have your own comparables, and not just because it's important to have your own, because there's a lot of comparables that are out there that you buy that are inaccurate. And I have stories where clients have presented, here's the comps in your area, and they've gotten kicked out of meetings because the owner of the building said, no, that's wrong. I actually sold that building. It was my building. And so, again, you don't have to go comp by comp and so forth, but you can pick and choose where you're at. But as you start creating the comps in your program, you would then have that data. That data then can be viewed by your whole team. But my top, A investors who I can create a safe filter and find all the time, those ones are marked private for me. You can't see them. But maybe marketing can see everything. So there's a lot of different filters and so forth within our program. Getting contact information is easy, whether it's out or a simple import. You can do it all in our program rapidly, including an auto mapping feature that looks at the titles of the headers in the spreadsheets and matches it as best of its ability to the fields in our program. And then send out email campaigns with inside of the system. Again, marketing can see everything and send marketing campaigns based upon the attributes you put in. But Jimmy that I compete with in the same market won't see those informations. So it's super powerful to be able to see that. And then it's all in our one program that you can see the analytics for opens, clicks, and opt-outs. And it's amazing when I see things where they go, wow, I didn't realize this person wasn't receiving my emails. I didn't talk to him for 4 years. Hey, Keith, it's Matt. I've been sending you these emails on these awesome deals. However, I didn't realize that your email was bad until just now. Can I get an updated email? Hey, Keith, good time. I'm looking to sell my $185 million shopping center and I'm paying an 8% commission on it. Well, lucky me.
Hey, Matt, I got kicked out for a second, just came back in, but I'm not sure if you covered it or not. But just to be clear, one of the part of the question that I didn't hear an answer to was on the data normalization and data service. So if you didn't hit that, I would say that we do a lot of work, Jim, on that side to help clients clean up their data. What we find often is that legacy data is a mess. Lots of duplicates, lots of misspellings, lots of boulevards versus BLVDs or street and Northwest versus NW. And so we work to standardize all of that so that it all comes in, dedupes, cleans up, normalizes so that the ability to query and filter and view the information is as effective as possible.
And then if you have folks on your team that are using other programs besides ours, it's a very easy data migration. Whether it's Aptio or Salesforce or BuildOut or ClientLook or Command or any of that stuff, we built these automated tools to streamline that process. So your team has the quickest time to value in our program. Is we're migrating people over in 15 minutes or less sometimes, where other programs that are out there that aren't built by these great teams are taking you 15 weeks. I just talked to a person at a competing program out of Boca Raton yesterday, and he says it took him 2 months. 2 months, Jim, to get onboarded. 2 months. That's 2 months of prospecting, cold calling. And April, if you're making 50 calls a day, 2 months of phone calls, your competitor just took your market. It's gone.
No, it's so important for new agents working as a team. We know that's the way successful agents coming into the business, especially nowadays, is you kind of have to plug into a team or a network, sharing data, information, moving quicker. That's what technology is used for us, but using and getting good data to help us. So with all this data that you guys are building, how are you now using predictive analytics and also figuring out trends and maybe some other ideas, if you can share, what's on the glimpse for RealNex as you guys really see so much data flowing through your company now?
Well, I think that Jeff hit the nail on the head, whether it's transaction date, looking at, portfolio transactions or buying patterns or, looking at their mix of property types. There's no better way to look at that. And Jeff and I will go back on this. Look, low maturity is great. And I think it's something that you should reach out to, but you're competing with 895,000 brokers that are all going after the same date. We want to get there 2, 3, 4 years ahead of time and build a relationship prior to. Not saying that you shouldn't go after that, but we look at all the different data points based upon the LLC, so we can see that information under there, whether that's a price per square foot, and price per square foot now has increased twofold. Maybe that's a great opportunity. Or they have a mix of hotels, motels, but there's a gas station like Jeff mentioned before. Well, that's a good opportunity. As I work with clients internationally, and Jim, you probably know this, there's no such thing as a exclusive listing in a lot of countries. Everything's an open listing. Everything's an open lease. There is no tenant rep agreement. There is no landlord rep agreement. Everything's an open listing. So they then have to come back into these companies and say, hey, by the way, company XYZ, I see that you have 7 spaces located here and 1 here. What's happening and why do you have that? And sometimes they find out that, look, we were able to get a good lease rate and that's why we lease that space. But hey, if you can find us another space within a closer vicinity, then we would love to have that. Well, they have to come up and say, hey, here's your portfolio. Here's what's going on. And here's the problem you have that you didn't know. And that's how they get a deal. So we are blessed by the Lord himself to be here in Canada and the United States with these exclusive agreements that give us that opportunity to work on there. Because if you were in a global organization, you wouldn't have that. And you're going to have to find a problem that the client didn't know about and show it to them and present it and then go get the deal. And our program can help you do all that.
Matt, I'm really excited that you brought up global and international because that's kind of the play. A lot of things, a lot of activities going there. And you're right, controlling the listing, talking to developers, controlling the product, putting this all together. We're really excited with this to create the opportunity. As we all know, there's a tremendous amount of dry powder around the world. People are moving money. A lot of things are happening, especially after the election. As Jeff said, interest rates coming down. Who knows? Maybe we get another one in December. Really exciting times, especially for many of the commercial brokers for 2025. Is there any other question? If not, I'd love to kind of give Jeff and Matt kind of final words about how could they plug into RealNex? How can they use it and learn? But any other questions for Jeff and Matt? Jeff and Matt, do you want to just kind of close up final words or how they can plug
Absolutely.
in
So
and reach out to you?
Yep, my mic was off. So thanks, Jim. Thanks, Matt, for covering the bases and everyone for participating today. I did see a question about the EXP website. We are currently working with the corporate team to have our data all fed in and to host and manage that part of the website, property listings and the exposure. So that is forthcoming, not done yet, but we should be having an announcement to come out with shortly that will enable you to have all of the work that we're doing and the listings that you have hosted and showcased on the website. As far as globalization, we're also working on a number of strategies and expect it in the next year to have fully globalized interface with the ability to translate from currency, units of measure, and language on the fly. So we've got all the underpinnings of that. So to Jim, to your point, if you were building an OM in Los Angeles and submitting that to an investor in Tokyo, he would see it in his the way he likes to see it, and she likes to see it. And if they were doing the same coming to America, that we would see it the way we want to see it. So that is a really exciting initiative that we have ongoing. So we have a very special relationship with EXP. I think it's going to get even better. So be on the lookout for announcements coming from the team and from us on how you can get started if you haven't already. If you're already working with us, great. We appreciate it. We have a number of webinars and trainings that we have regularly, and then you receive information on. If you're not and want to get started, contact Matt. There's a website called realnex.com/EXP, www.realnex.com/EXP, and just fill it out, and we can get you added to the subscription, or have one of our reps reach out to you to help you understand the services and solutions and get you onboarded as efficiently as possible. So the best way to access us is through that website. You learn about the current program and any future programs that we have to announce. And I'm hopeful that will have something broadening this relationship in the very near future.
Thank you, Jeff. And Matt, you know, and actually, I'm glad you brought up the realty part, because a lot of times commercial, residential, I would say they can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time to do residential and commercial. Usually the friends that are developers, they need access to the residential side because they're marketing housing and everything else. So it is open to both. So a lot of people, depending on commercial or residential, I would say take a look. Especially with what's going on in the residential market. A lot of people are upgrading their skills and really collaborating with everyone, because the world's kind of getting smaller. People are now getting a lot more sophisticated, especially our clients. So it's good to get to know all the technology out there, understanding it deeper, and to collaborate and work with everyone, not just domestically, but globally, and plug in. Because we know, as we've seen over the last couple of years, it's been a struggle. But the good thing is those that are experts that want to always upgrade their skill, knowledge, and relationships, connections will stay in the game. As many of us, I know we've been around for decades. So thank you again, Jeff, Matt, Keith, always, I always see your face there, and everyone else for being on. But reach out to learn more and get a presentation, whether you're at EXP or any other company. But let's all stay in the real estate game together. Thank you so much, everyone.
Everybody.
Have a great day.